Does price optimization hike rents? An algorithm that's widely used to price property rentals may be helping to drive up rents in the United States. YieldStar, a price prediction service offered by Texas-based analytics company RealPage, suggests rental rates that are often higher than the market average, ProPublica reported. Critics believe the software stifles competition, inflating prices beyond what many renters can afford and adding to an ongoing shortage of affordable housing. The algorithm analyzes leases for over 13 million units across the U.S. to calculate prices for 20 million rental units daily. 5 of the 10 largest property management firms in the U.S. use it. Former RealPage employees told the authors that property managers adopt around 90% of its suggested prices. The lease data, which is gathered from YieldStar customers, includes current rental price, which may differ from the rate that's advertised publicly, number of bedrooms, number of units in a building, and number of nearby units likely to go on the market in the near future. The company advertised that YieldStar could help clients set prices between 3 and 7% higher than the market. It removed the information following the report by ProPublica. The cost to rent a one-bedroom apartment in a Seattle building with prices set by YieldStar increased 33% over 1 year, while the price of a nearby studio where rents were set manually increased 3.9% in the same time period. Automated pricing has had mixed results in real estate. OfferPad, Opendoor, and Redfin use algorithms to estimate a home's value, and their systems account for around 1% of U.S. sales. Zillow shuttered a similar program last year after it contributed to over $600 million in losses. AI hasn't been so bad for jobs. Worries that automation is stealing jobs may have been greatly exaggerated. A U.S. government report found that employment has increased in many occupations that may be threatened by automation. Bureau of Labor Statistics sociologist Michael J. Hundle identified 11 occupations at risk from AI. He calculated changes in employment between 2008 and 2018. The 11 professions grew by 13.9%, on average, during those years. Among the largest gains, jobs for interpreters and translators grew 49.4%, positions for personal financial advisors increased 30.4%, fast food and counter work expanded 29.7%, and manual labor and freight jobs grew 27.5%. Only 2 of the 11 professions declined. Maids and housekeepers edged downward 0.2%, while surgeons outside of ophthalmology fell by 30%. Roomba and Da Vinci notwithstanding, automation doesn't seem to be implicated in those declines. This study joins previous research that runs counter to fears that robots will steal human jobs. Studies of the use of industrial machinery and employment rates in Finland, Japan, France, and the UK found that increased automation is associated with more jobs and higher productivity in industries with high rates of automation. Unemployment rates in most of the 38 countries that make up the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development were lower in April 2022 than February 2020, before the spread of COVID-19. Some economists fretted that the pandemic would drive a wave of job-killing automation. What the missing frames showed neural networks can describe in words what's happening in pictures and videos, but can they make sensible guesses about things that happened before or will happen afterward? Researchers probed this ability. Chen Liang at Zhejiang University and colleagues introduced a dataset and architecture, called Reasoner, that generates text descriptions of hidden, or masked, events in videos. They call this capability visual abductive reasoning. The authors trained an encoder and decoder. The training dataset included more than 8,600 clips of daily activities found on the web and television. Each clip depicted an average of 4 sequential events with text descriptions such as, a boy throws a frisbee out and his dog is running after it, the dog caught the frisbee back, and, frisbee is in the boy's hand. The authors masked one event per clip. The task was to generate a description of each event in a clip including the masked one. The authors randomly sampled 50 frames per event and produced a representation of each frame using a pre-trained ResNet. They masked selected events. The encoder, a vanilla transformer, collected the frame representations into visual representations. In addition to the self-attention matrix, it learned a matrix of embeddings that represented the relative event positions along with their order. It added the two matrices when calculating attention. The decoder comprised 3 stack transformers, each of which generated a sentence that described each event. It also produced a confidence score for each description, the average probability per word, which helped successive transformers to refine the descriptions. During training, one term of the loss function encouraged the system to generate descriptions similar to the ground truth descriptions. Another term encouraged it to minimize the difference between the encoder's representation of masked and unmasked versions of an event. The authors compared Reasoner to the best competing method, PDVC, a video captioner trained to perform their task. 3 human volunteers evaluated the generated descriptions of masked events in 500 test set examples drawn at random. Evaluating the descriptions of masked events, the evaluators preferred Reasoner in 29.9% of cases, preferred PDVC in 10.4% of cases, found them equally good in 13.7% of cases, and found them equally bad in 46.0% of cases. The authors also pitted Reasoner's output against descriptions of masked events written by humans. The evaluators preferred human-generated descriptions in 64.8% of cases, found them equally good in 22.1% of cases, found them equally bad in 4.2% of cases, and preferred Reasoner in 8.9% of cases.